Welcome to another Free Tool Friday, where today we're going to talk about 10 simple questions to vet out an IT company. Let's get started. Today we're going to talk about 10 simple questions you could use to qualify an IT services company and to make sure that they can deliver the value and the services that you desire for your small business. So one of the things I wanted to start with today, though, was the fact that we've been in business since 2009, and I've been in the IT industry for better part of 25 years. I seem to hear the same type of complaints and feedback from clients or former clients or even prospective clients when talking about IT services companies. And the first thing that we hear most often is, why are you looking? What's making you look for another IT services company or for an IT services company in general? And the things that we hear are very common. So if they have an IT services company, they're tired of the headaches, the hassles, the calls with no callbacks, waiting for days for responses for critical issues. So it's sort of service-based, but more than that, it's relationship-based, or even a lack of knowledge around how their business operates and how to support them. So these are 10 questions that we see come up most often that can help you qualify the company that you're working with. They can also help you qualify the company that you're thinking about working with and make sure that they're in alignment with everything that your business needs and the fact that you guys can even work together. Right? That's where we'll start today. Here's the 10 questions. So let's get into the first simple question that you can use to assess any IT company. Number one, do they have a written guaranteed response time to your calls or for your tickets for that matter? So what we're talking about is a response time or a guaranteed time that they would actually start to work on the ticket. For instance, in my company, we actually guarantee a 60-minute or less response time from a real person. That doesn't count the automated emails that you get to say, thanks for creating the ticket, we got the ticket. That's actually a person calling you or responding and saying, we're working on it, or we're actually starting to fix the problem and get you back into working order. This is super important. This actually sets the expectation of how you're going to work together, what you can expect from a business perspective to say that, hey, if we ever have an issue, their absolute outside response time is X, whether that be 60 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days, whatever your agreement happens to be with those guys. But, this is something that we think is very important, that just sets the framework, sets the groundwork to make sure that you can work together. And honestly, this is what I would call a standard procedure for a modern IT services company today. Question two, do they take the time to explain what they are doing and answer your questions in terms that you can understand? No geek speak, no nerd terms, or do they come across as arrogant in some cases and make you feel stupid for asking simple questions? This is something that you would have to evaluate after you worked with somebody for a little bit, or even actually went through their proposal. Are they just speaking way over your head, or are they talking about business terms that you can understand? And the reason that that's important is if an IT company and an IT services company in general, if they're going to help you with your IT needs on a day-to-day basis, you need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to communicate with the same language and terms. And the other part of it is they're there to serve the business. So if they can't speak in business terms and efficiencies and progress as far as productivity goes, and nailing down those things that make your business run faster, better, gain more clients quickly, those are the things that IT companies should be talking about, not the bits and bytes behind the scene, right? So this is really important to, again, bolster the relationship right off the bat. Question three, do they consistently and proactively offer new ways to improve your network's performance, or do they wait until you have a problem to make recommendations? This is the difference between someone who charges you and hopes to never hear from you versus having a proactive approach. This is our company standard. We actually proactively look at a company's network. We actually go through their solutions on a monthly and a quarterly basis. We have quarterly QBRs, what we call quarterly business reviews, to make sure that everybody is still in alignment and everybody's getting the right value out of the agreement. So another standard tenet, if you will, of good IT services. Question four. Detailed invoices. If they don't provide you detailed invoices, how do you know what you're being charged for? You can go back to the agreement and hope that, that's something you could pull out of that one-liner that's on the invoice. But for the most part, you definitely want detailed invoices that clearly outline each and every line item, the quantities being charged, and then especially when it comes to labor. That's a real detail that is sometimes missed. Some folks put in there, hey, project management work, 6 hours. Well, what was that project work? And who were we doing it for? What was the request? Is there a ticket number attached to that? All of those things are very important as you move through any work that needs to be done or any agreements that you've signed, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. So question number 5, do they insist on monitoring an off-site as well as an on-site backup, or are they letting you rely on outdated tape backups, or I'll add USB, portable drives? I'll tell a short story here. There was a customer that we acquired that was using portable drives and backing all of their company data up to the portable drive. They actually left it in the back seat of their car as they ran into 7-Eleven on the way home. Somebody actually smashed the window, grabbed the backup, and it was gone. Not only did they have the company data at that point, but they had no backups, no way to recover data at that point past a new backup at that point, right? So they had to take a complete full new backup. So if the new company or the company that you're working with, if they're not at least insisting that you do the 3-2-1 backup, which is 3 copies of your data on 2 different media types and one of those being offsite, you might want to question how they're backing up and is it the most robust process that would protect your business. Here's another one that is missed. So question number 6. Do they do periodic test restores of your backups? So one thing that we have run into many times over is we acquire a client, we actually look at their backups, make sure they're actually running. It's surprising how many times that there are actual failure notifications that seem to be going nowhere and nobody's ever noticed them before. But we'll really go through and take an inventory of what's being backed up. Is it successful? Is it not? Then we'll actually start to run a test to say, can we recover the data? It is shocking how many times we cannot recover the data, or that the backup is corrupt or bad, and it has been for long periods of time. So from that to say that your backup is only as good as the last time that you've tested your restore points, this is something that you can ask your current provider or your prospective provider to say, hey, do you do test restores of the data to make sure that it's not corrupt and can be restored in the event that you need it, right? So one of the things that we can mention that we move to a system that actually takes snapshots of the operating system every time it's every time it's backed up to make sure that it actually boots to the boot screen. We actually check for services starting up. These are modern approaches that you can ask about to make sure you're getting the best bang for the buck and to make sure that your business is protected. So question 7, this is just a no-brainer. We've had horror stories come from our clients before to say that some other vendor started work on one of the major systems. Something happened, data was lost and it couldn't be recovered up to the point of 24 hours before, whatever the last update point was or backup point was. So this is a no-brainer. So you should ask, do you make sure and back up the work or the data or whatever that system is before performing any type of upgrade or project work on it? So if the answer is no, if there's some hesitation on this, definitely look for somebody else or at least compare and get a second or third opinion on a company that can help you with your IT. So question 8, if you were to experience a major disaster, did they have a written plan for how your data would be restored fast or enable you to work from a remote location? So this is something that should be answered again with a modern backup solution. In our case, we use a system that we can actually tune the RPOs and RTOs. Those are recovery times, basically saying how much data can I lose, and then how fast do I need it back if it crashes and something needs to be done, right? So we actually work with the client to custom tune that to their business needs. And then in the event of a disaster, we actually have a process to where we could restore the data from the cloud if necessary and have them VPN into that system to get the data in real time and keep working as if that system was never down. So that's one of those things that you can say, hey, can you do these things? And what's the process? Let me see some sample documentation. That would be a great thing to ask. And, show me what happens, or can you tell me what happens if we lose the data or if we lose the building and can't work from that particular building, say that there's a storm or an outage? Great question to ask here on question number 8. So question 9, is their help desk US based or outsourced? This is something that we have seen as a trend over the past few years to have companies not handle their own IT help desk. And I'm not sure how that is supposed to work or be an efficiency or a productivity gain for the end client, which is you, the business owner. But that's something that we don't do necessarily. We always make sure that we have a dedicated client manager, a dedicated help desk person who actually takes the point, no matter if they're fixing it or if they hand it off to a team member, they're the single throat to choke. And you make sure that you only have, just a couple of people that you would have to call in the event that you needed an emergency taken care of. Good question to ask. The other part of it is their response time. How fast is their response time on their help desk? We covered that a little bit, but if it's outsourced, if it's third party, sometimes you see quite a big delay from when you actually put a ticket in or a call in versus when you get a response. And question 10, this is the full accountability question. So when something goes wrong with, it doesn't matter, your internet, your phones, printers, other services, does your current company or the prospective company own that problem from beginning to end? Or is it more of a, hey, that's not our problem, you guys go fix it and then let us know when it's done, right? So when you hire an IT company, in my opinion, especially if it's a complete outsourcing of your IT services, that company needs to be able to handle everything soup to nuts. They need to be able to handle your vendor relationships, any questions that you might have about any of your systems. If your internet goes down, yes, that's not something that they can control, but they do speak the same language as the person on the other end that's trying to restore that. It would be great if your company could get on the phone with them, however that happens, to get that service restored, tell them what the problems are. Phone systems, printers, they're all the same, right? To say that if you had a problem, your current or prospective IT company needs to own that particular problem soup to nuts. So these are just the first 10 questions that we would start with. We actually have a list of 20, 25 questions in total that you can really use to dig into the details of, does that company fit your needs, your desires, and your goals as a business owner, so that you can align yourselves and be successful from the get-go. If you like these questions, you want to hear more questions, so down in the description, you'll see a link for a free strategy session. Click that link, schedule a free strategy session with us, and we can talk about the next 10 questions, the next 15 questions that you need to ask, in particular for either your new IT company that you're trying to hire or your current IT firm, to make sure you're getting the best bang for the buck. If you like these questions, if you like this video, click the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, click the bell notifications. Make sure you're getting new notifications on when we put out new videos. Also, down in the description, I'm going to provide the actual PDF of this presentation. That way you can take these questions and use them next time you're talking to an IT services company. And again, to make sure that they're the right fit. That wraps up into the Free Tool Friday. We appreciate it. See you guys next Friday.